looking at Instagram. So last night I went out. My homegirl Kasia in Brooklyn, she posted a photo of a mezcal Negroni, and it looked so good. It looked really good. Not only that, yesterday was just a day. I was just having one of those days. And I was like, I want a drink. I want to go out and I want to have a drink. And I don't want to have just any drink. I want to have a Negroni. Not had a Negroni in a very long time, but then a mezcal Negroni. I was like, oh, that's a game changer. I stepped it down from mezcal Negroni because I just figured around here asking for mezcal Negroni might be a bit much. Like that might just confuse whatever bartender I deal with. So sure enough, I go to spot nearby and I asked the bartender for a Negroni. This young woman looked at me and she was just like, "What is that?" So I just ended up ordering a vodka soda because it's so funny because the other bartender that was working, he told me he's been a bartender for about 15 years, and I told him the story, and he started chuckling, and he was just like, in his 15 years of bartending, he doesn't think that anyone has ever asked him to make a Negroni. But he was like, at least he knew what it was because he thought about it. And he was just like, oh, it's like, gin and Campari and vermouth. And I was just like, yes, yes, that's absolutely right. And he was just like, yeah. He was like, I know how to make it. I don't think I've ever made it. Just goes to show bartending is truly a lost art. It's a lost art. But as I said, I was having one of those days. And well, here's why. So a new Film Courage video went up interviewing me. And in this video, I talk about 3 tips that have helped me craft query letters that have been getting responses. Now, these are not my tips. These are tips from a black writer, Saeed Crumpler, talked about him before, and he wrote an article for the final draft screenwriting software for their blog. So I read the article, took stock of the tips. It's like, okay, let me give this a shot. And once I applied those tips and strategies to my own query letters, that is when I started to get responses. Not all the responses were requests for my script, but at least I would get a response. At least a manager would, say, hey, just Jay, this sounds great, but it's not for me, or, right now, I've got other clients and projects to deal with. But something in these tips and these strategies worked. Like what I was doing before was not working. That's what I recognized. I was like, okay, what I've been doing before didn't matter who I reached out to, no bites. But the moment that I started doing this stuff, oh shit. So, Film Courage, in my interview with them, they asked me about these tips and we talked about them. One of the tips, and it was the first thing that I mentioned, was to introduce myself as a black writer. Now, the takeaway from that was supposed to be set yourself apart. What makes you unique? And we know that managers and agents are looking to diversify their roster. They're looking for black writers. They're looking for more women writers. They're looking for queer writers, native writers, Latino writers. Like, and in the comments of the Film Courage interview, never mind the other 2 tips, never mind the rest of the video, the rest of the discussion. In the comments, all these people were just like, oh, so what you're saying is it's all about race now. It's all about race. And I'm just like, y'all are really missing the point. Y'all are really missing the point. Some people got it, but I was just really struck by how some people were just so fixated on this. I'm just like, if y'all put this much energy into writing scripts, then you wouldn't be upset at my suggestion that you announce that you are a whatever writer in your query letter. You're commenting underneath everyone else's comment, talking about it has to be about the script, it has to be about the merits of the writing. Well then write something good. Don't worry about how I introduce myself in a query letter. And I love my buddy Paul, who's a filmmaker and screenwriter and a white man, and he's just like, yeah, I didn't take it any kind of way. It's just like, what makes me unique? What makes me stand out? He's like, I'm an older writer. I'm a father. I have knowledge, this specific knowledge in this category. So that's what I would slide into my query letter intro. And I'm just like, yes. So whatever. I thought about responding to one guy and saying something along those lines. It's about what makes you unique. Okay, you're a white guy, but what else is there about you? But I decided not to. I left that response in the drafts. And it was a nice response too. Like, I'm not trying to start flame wars on Film Courage's page. That's not my, I'm not trying to do that. But there was one comment that got to me. And the thing was, I knew that at some point eventually someone was going to say something along these lines. I wasn't expecting it so soon, and I wasn't expecting it to like really hit me the way that it did. This one guy, he commented essentially saying, Film Courage, what the hell? This guy has no produced screenplays. He's a nobody. Why are you interviewing him? And, he's absolutely right. I haven't produced anything. I haven't sold anything. I am a nobody as far as the industry is concerned. I did respond to him, and my response was essentially, I'm still on that journey. And the people that are mostly, profiled on Film Courage, they're mostly established, successful. Yes, they have sold, they've produced, they've done things worth talking about. I'm someone who's actively trying to get there. Like, I'm in the midst of my journey, and I want to share my story and my experiences. And the folks at Film Courage, they took notice of what I was doing. They felt that my story was compelling and worthy of sharing. And I think that there's some value in that. I think that there are people who would like to know what it's like. They would like to see someone who's actively trying to do it. It's one thing to say, yes, I've sold a script, I've sold several scripts, and I'm represented, and boom, boom, boom. But it's another to look at someone who's doing it and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing to attract the attention. This is what I'm doing in writing my scripts. This is what I'm doing in order to make this happen. And look, I may succeed, I may fail, but there are lessons in all of these experiences. And if anyone can learn from what I'm going through, if anyone can be inspired by what I'm going through, then that's valuable. That's worth sharing. So whatever, it is what it is. I still do, still felt away by that guy posting that. At least he did say that I seem like a nice guy. So I mean, begin your insult with a small compliment. That's like the sugar that goes down with the poison. People talk a lot about how online, on social media, on all these platforms, people only share their wins. They don't share their L's. I've been trying to be very open, very transparent about this journey. Everything is not a W. Everything is not a win. Most days I feel positive, I feel optimistic, I feel confident. That's not every day. Some days I do feel like a failure. Some days I do feel like I'm wasting my time. Some days I do feel like I should give this shit up. I always bounce back from those feelings, but I still go through them. Going through that shit right now. And it doesn't feel good. I'm documenting this and I'm publishing this because we all go through it. If you are trying to accomplish any goal, achieve any dream, doesn't have to be screenwriting, filmmaking, or any of this shit, no matter what it is, you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. The important thing is when you reach your lows, know that it's not going to last. What do they say? Fall down 8 times, get up 9. I don't know why I chose those random numbers. Yeah. So anyway, it's just words from a nobody. I hope they're helpful.
I want a team